Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Gabrielle Hughes, and I'm Content Marketing Manager here at ProsperWorks. In today's session, G Suite and ProsperWorks are teaming up with our joint customer, UrbanVolt, to discuss how they've scaled their business from the ground up. We're joined by Justin Eddy, who does strategic partnerships at Google, Alex Kula-Davis, who is Director of Customer Success here at ProsperWorks, and Adele Kennedy, who is the Head of Marketing at UrbanVolt. If you guys have any questions throughout the webinar, please submit them in the questions pane of your GoToWebinar control panel, and they'll be addressed during the 10-minute question and answer session at the end of the presentation. A recorded version of today's webinar will also be available after the broadcast. So I'm going to turn it over to Justin, who's going to give us a quick overview of G Suite.
Thanks, Gabrielle. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Eddy. As Gabrielle mentioned, I run strategic partnerships here at Google Cloud. I'm delighted to join with UrbanVolt and ProsperWorks today to share a little bit about how technology can help you scale your business. By way of introduction, on the Google side, I want to talk a little bit about G Suite for those who aren't familiar. So G Suite is really a flagship product from the Google Cloud organization. And what it is a set of intelligent apps to help people in your company connect and work together and make work a lot easier. So this technology really brings teams together. We've built in our machine intelligence to make it a lot faster. And we use our most advanced cloud infrastructure in the industry that runs a lot of these highly used and scalable programs and products that Google builds. So really, if we go to the next slide, what I want to convey here is, you might think of G Suite as these office productivity applications, communication, collaboration and storage, security and administration. It's really a hub for a lot of our customers to get a lot of their work done. But we also built it as a platform upon which developers could build other common business tools that a lot of our customers are going to need, and frankly, we're just not going to build all of those things. So that's where ProsperWorks come in. So we have basically built this so that a lot of these common business tools can be plugged right into G Suite and help you get a lot more done out of the product. As we've built it as a platform, what we've noticed is we've grown a lot of integrations, a lot of developer partnerships, and a very common customer request is, how can you guys help me determine which are the right applications for my business? And so what we've done here is started this Recommended for G Suite program. What the Recommended for G Suite program is a program for us to work directly with strategic technology partners on highly common integrations and help them recommend those solutions to our customers. So if we advance to the next slide here, ProsperWorks is a part of this Recommended for G Suite program. I think it's important to call that out. Since the inception of the program, they've joined as our CRM partner. And what that means is really that they've been identified as one of the best partnerships that we have in this place, in the sector for CRM. It also means that they meet our best practices for integration implementation, and they meet Google's security standards. And that's met by a third-party penetration and security audit firm that we regularly evaluate all of the partners and products within the Recommended for G Suite program. So it's a very exclusive list of partners, and I'm very excited to have ProsperWorks as a part of it. You can see the entire list of those partners in our Recommended for G Suite program. If you simply just Google Recommended for G Suite, it'll be the first page that comes up. There's also a link in the deck here to the marketplace where we have a section that's perfectly just all of our Recommended for G Suite applications. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Alex for a little bit more of an introduction to ProsperWorks.
Thanks, Justin. Hey, everyone. I'm Alex Kula-Davis. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at ProsperWorks. And I want to give a little background about ProsperWorks for those of you that don't know. We were actually established in 2013, which means we are close to our 4th birthday coming up here, so excited about that. We're known as the only CRM teams actually love to use, and I think a big part of this is because we're specifically made for G Suite, so we're able to integrate with a lot of those things Justin was talking about, and really just create a system that people really like to use. And I think it's also really widely adopted because we do a lot of other great things such as task automation and also eliminating data entry, which I know can be a painful issue with CRM. So it's the only CRM in the market that was built really for adoption. And today though we're here for UrbanVolt, and so we want to learn more about how they've scaled their business over the last couple of years using ProsperWorks, using G Suite. So I want to introduce their head of marketing, Adele Kennedy, to give us a little more of an overview of what UrbanVolt does. So Adele, take it away.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So the question we always get asked when you hear the name UrbanVolt, it's like, well, what exactly do you guys do? Because we could be anything from an energy drink to a support group for Metallica. So it's neither. So what we do is we solve the problem of companies needing capital to carry out energy efficiency projects. So typically, if you want to carry out an LED retrofit in your site, it's going to take tens or hundreds of thousands of euro or dollars. So what we do is we put up all of the capital, project manage the installation, and we're paid a proportion of the savings over a 5-year period. So what it is essentially, if you want to boil it down to a few words, is it's light as a service. And people understand software as a service, printing as a service. This is just bringing the business model to energy efficiency products and taking all of the problems out of it and all of the hurdles. And that's what UrbanVolt offers.
Awesome. And you know, out of curiosity, Adele, before UrbanVolt came to be who it is today, what was the company like when you were first starting out?
Well, actually, getting a CRM was one of the first things we did, and probably unusually, our CEO was heavily involved in this in determining exactly what software we were going to use and what CRM we were going to use, because I think we've all gone through periods where we've had to transition to new software or new platforms, and we know how painful that is, both in terms of educating staff and even just the transfer of data. So we didn't want to ever have to do that. We wanted to get the right one, like invest the time in choosing the correct one for us and for where we're going, and also to choose something that was scalable. Because if you've got a lifestyle business and you're going to be dealing with a small number of clients or individuals, you can work on a spreadsheet, no problem. But we wanted something that could grow as we could grow, but as well that everything would integrate. So it was probably about 10 different platforms that we road tested. And it wasn't just a matter of sitting down and looking at them or reading about them, like we did trials with them. So in terms of what we wanted and in terms of the integration that would come between the platforms and CRM, ProsperWorks and the Google Suite just ticked every box for us.
That's great. And Adele, you mentioned a little bit there about your selection process and making sure that you understand sort of your sales process and how that fits into your business so that you can select the right tools. Can you share a little bit more about how you select tools and what the search process is like for you?
So I suppose the important thing if you're choosing CRM is knowing, well, how your business exactly works, and that can be difficult when you're a startup or in your early growth stage, because there's constant different iterations, you're tweaking things, so you're going to need something that is adaptable. You need a customer response team that's going to be able to help you fix any bugs or perhaps put in new features that you're going to need, but you also don't need something that has every single added feature and perhaps stops you going through the various different steps. For us, it was important as well that it was something that could be used by the entire team, by the entire company and the various different teams. So that's why we wanted something that could integrate, bring in Google Sheets, Google Docs, bring in the CRM. The budget obviously is important, how it knits together, and I just mentioned there about scalability as well. If you do have a small number of clients, it's fine because you know exactly who they are, where they are all at. But we have quite a long sales process, and it can stall sometimes if people say, look, I'm just not ready for a project right now. You need to be able to have a system that you can go back into, be able to get a really quick overview of exactly who that client is, where they're at, and be able to pick up the relationship again and just run with it from there.
That's fantastic. And how about for G Suite? As you looked into that, how did you guys evaluate it and how do you use it today?
Yeah, so you listed it there on the slide, everything that we use. So we literally live in G Suite. So I'll just give you some small examples of how it makes our life a little bit easier. So if, for example, we're in contact with a new person and we're emailing them back and forth, because of the integration between the CRM and Gmail, we can just pull all the details straight in. There's not a huge arduous admin task of typing in all of the details. It's pulled into our CRM, we update a few details, and it's all there. Google Docs, because I work in marketing, we have some email templates, a certain language we want to use, certain language we don't want to use. So I work with our commercial managers to, okay, look, if you come across this particular problem or query, these like queries crop up regularly, so we can have shared docs where the guys can access it and know the terminology that we're going to use. So that saves time. It saves, you know, phone calls and emails back and forth. In terms of sheets, we do a phenomenal amount of analysis on our clients' needs. So because it's Light as a service that we offer, we need certain data from our clients, which we crunch the numbers. Here's what your site looks like now, what your bill looks like now, here's what it will look like afterwards. And that data is looked at by a number of different teams right across the company. So it's important that we're not dealing with multiple documents. We've all been in situations where it's like, oh God, we're on iteration, you know, 25, which is the right one. So in Sheets, because it's live and everybody can work on it, it's perfect. And it also means that we can go back and see, did we make a mistake here, or do we need to change something 5 steps back? On slides, we also work off that for our presentations and for our proposals. And again, because it's accessible by everybody, there isn't 50 different versions floating around in the ether. We can all just access it. And Drive, again, a huge amount of information is gathered and stored. Like we have an individual folder for every client, which makes life so much easier. We're a paperless office, so you know, we're not getting posted in bills or, you know, site analysis or anything like that. Everything comes in on Gmail and goes straight into a secure client folder on the Drive that everybody can access and that everybody can get the information that they need.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you for sharing that. And you know, how big of a deal, I'm curious, was the ProsperWorks integration with G Suite? Can you speak a little bit about what that meant for you when you're trying to select the CRM?
So it was, like I said, it was really seamless. We looked at quite a few other systems that were probably, well, they are around an awful lot longer, and you know, there can be a lot of overkill with features and having quite a clunky system. And one problem we came across, which people had experienced in other companies before they came here, was that with some systems you can get to a certain point and you can't get beyond it in your CRM unless you carry out certain steps or spend a lot of time on it. That's not something that we wanted. We wanted to make it quick and easy. It's like almost idiot proof, so that if you're bringing somebody in, the learning curve is going to be quite quick and easy. And also when you have people out on the road, you can't be stopping and spending a few hours a day on admin. It has to be really easy to record the information. It has to be really easy to go through all of the various different steps and move things along. And everything has to be easily accessible. You don't want to be spending half an hour searching for a particular document or a client folder or anything like that. So one of the important things as well was that we would be able to get a really quick high-level overview of where everything is at. What's in our pipeline, how things are moving along, and also really accurate reporting. And that's an important thing, obviously, from a sales and marketing point of view. What's working, what's not working, what's stuck at a particular point. Is there something that we need to move or adjust? And it has been an iterative process because we're in growth stage, and it's great that we can change these things and make our system better and then make our client experience better.
And Adele, do you have some, maybe good specific examples of some of the ways ProsperWorks is making life easier for you and your team?
Sure. So, like I said, we can have quite a long sales process. So it could be anything from our shortest was 18 days to 6 months plus long. And sometimes people just say, look, I'm not ready to do this project right now. Come back to me later in the year. So, just to give you an example of an instance where ProsperWorks and Gmail was able to help us reach out to a client again. We had an event in the south of Ireland, and I looked through our pipeline to see, okay, who in that area hasn't been in contact with us for a while and said they'd like to come back and talk to us later. I was able to very quickly pull out that data and see, okay, here's these clients, they're worth going back and talking to. Was able to get a very quick overview of who they were, familiarize myself with them, contact them, invite them to the event, and that brought back re-engagement from a number of clients. So some attended, and we got talking to them again, able to start the relationship again, and some actually contacted us again by email in the subsequent weeks because we'd reached out to them. If we didn't have a CRM, we wouldn't be able to do that because they'd be long forgotten about, and we wouldn't have the detail of what they needed or why they hit pause on the project. So it's those little triggers of, okay, they said to follow up with them later, let me set a task, remind myself. Those sort of things are so important, particularly when you've already put in a lot of the work, and it's just a matter of picking up the ball again and running with it.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. Having more visibility is a big part. Also, you've mentioned before having to understand your sales process. So are there some other things too, which is just understanding where how your marketing team uses it to track leads, things like that?
Yeah, this in particular for me is really important, and it also helps us to determine so exactly where our leads come from, and from that then we can see, okay, is there data we can link to that in terms of how quickly or how slowly particular leads would close. So we can break it down. So for example, if we're in the press, we had a big announcement last year where we announced a 30 million euro funding partnership with our Swiss partners, SUSI, and from the press that was generated from that, we got a huge number of inbound queries, which was fantastic, obviously. So we can track through the system exactly when they come in, perhaps when they stopped engaging with us or when they closed. And the other interesting thing from that is we can determine how many of these leads will not qualify. So we can qualify them in and out very, very quickly, and that's really important for us because we don't want to be spending time on opportunities that it just won't work out for the client and won't work for us. So as much as everybody wants to have a lot of stuff in their pipeline, having less high quality opportunities is obviously much, much more important. But using ProsperWorks, I can track exactly what's working, and therefore we need to capitalize on that or perhaps replicate it. And if something's not working, again, we can see, okay, is there a poor result from this? Do we need to change it, or do we need to ditch it and take another avenue?
Excellent. Yeah. What would be some maybe other benefits beyond just talked about visibility, tracking lead sources for marketing, things like that?
So I suppose one thing, again, like for us, just because we have a long sales process and some people may not be ready to sign up right now, it's very important in terms of nurturing them and educating them after they've said, look, I'm not ready right now. So in terms of remarketing, it's very important for us for that, because Light as a Service is very new and people don't quite understand it sometimes. They're kind of not sure what this is about, and so there's an education cycle there as well. And when we know where somebody is at, what their concerns are, what objections they have, sometimes they're unspoken concerns, we're able to send them information, move them along, I suppose, the education cycle, and then at a time when they're ready to come back to us, they can actually do that. And it's also important in terms of segmenting who we're talking to, because not everybody, not all premises are suitable for what we do. So it's very important that we can break it down and say, okay, this is exactly who we want to talk to, and this is exactly who is going to work best for us and what the best client is for us.
That's great, yeah. And I actually personally have some experience working with your team to see how they're going to utilize ProsperWorks and G Suite together. So one of the specific examples that I've done before is worked with someone on the UrbanVolt team to leverage Google Forms and ProsperWorks. And as Adele's mentioned before, you guys do a lot of data analysis on your prospects and your customers, so capturing that information is really key. One of the ways to do that is by asking your prospects a lot of questions. So the team was leveraging Google Forms, which is a great tool for gathering a lot of information from prospects, customers, and using that to using ProsperWorks to figure out a way to automate when you guys would send those forms out. So when a prospect got to a certain point, be able to automatically send out a survey that captured that information that's so important, and then pouring it back into ProsperWorks. So really using those tools that G Suite has, and also being able to pull that information back into ProsperWorks, so you can help your sales team get more information on those prospects. So that was one thing that popped into my head of just a great way that you guys have leveraged both tools to make things more efficient for yourself. So that was kind of a neat thing for me to see. Do you have some other kind of specific examples like that? Any other anecdotes?
Yeah, so for example, like we use a lot of sort of email templates, which they're obviously personalized, but it's for us the language and tone is very, very important. If you look at our website, you don't see a single picture of a light because we're not a lighting company. We're essentially a finance company. If you go on our Facebook page, it's certainly not a lighting company. So the language we use and the tone we use is very important, and it's also very much about building a rapport with the client. And I want consistency as well in terms of the messages we're delivering, the language we're using. So the email templates are fantastic for that. So on Google Docs, everybody has access to these. If somebody keeps coming up against a particular question or hurdle, I can create, here's a template, or here's how you answer this particular question, and then everybody else has access to it as well. So that's a phenomenally useful tool to make sure our tone of voice is correct, and also very much a time-saving exercise as well, because you're not typing out the same email every single week.
So Adele and Alex, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for really unveiling here a lot about the selection process, how you use the two products together, what are some of the benefits you're getting out of it. Maybe just to drive us home here, I'm curious if you could speak to sort of the business outcomes that you're seeing here and what your experience is like today as a company.
So we've gone through a phenomenal amount of growth in our first year, which has been absolutely fantastic. So we have signed up over 100 customers in our first year. So that's 100 simultaneous infrastructure projects in their first year. And in that 5 years, our clients will save over 20 million euro in energy savings. So that's money that they can reinvest back in their business, in the local community. So obviously what we're doing now is scaling up, not only in Ireland, but also abroad. And that, again, go back to what I said early on in the webinar, we wanted something that would allow us to scale, and it wasn't something that we would have to transition out of into a bigger or better platform. We chose ProsperWorks and Google Suite so that it could help us do that from the get-go.
Great. Well, thanks everyone. We're going to move into our question and answer session. So if you have any questions, please submit them now, or you can email sales@ProsperWorks later on today, and we can address them at another time. I'm going to take a look at what's come in. So what are some of the ways that ProsperWorks and G Suite integrate with an ERP such as NetSuite? This is from Ben.
So I can start on the G Suite side. This is Justin. So G Suite, as I mentioned, is a platform that we built to integrate with a lot of popularly common business tools. NetSuite is definitely one of those that we work with, and partnerships in general. We are building out our team to identify those that are the most common sectors that we want to go deep in. I think we have a strategy to cover a lot of the most common business tools that wouldn't be a part of something that we talked about today, which is called the Recommended for G Suite program. Now that's really, as I mentioned, a very exclusive set of partners that we have identified for specific categories, and we would like to keep that as a sort of a short list so that it actually does help customers to make a decision. You probably would only see maybe 2 or 3 tops per category, and if you're looking at that list at gsuite.google.com/partner recommended, then you can kind of see there that there's only a couple per category, and we've covered about, I think, 15 now so far. So we're continually expanding in that area, and not only in the Recommend for G Suite program, but I guess outside of that is what I wanted to speak to as far as NetSuite and other applications and partners. We have a lot of partnerships that are strategic where we're working on them to help build integrations. We're continually trying to strive to increase our coverage with commonly used tools that our customers are asking us for. So I think as far as Google goes, you'll see a strategy for us to continue to grow that, a lot of which for G Suite you will find in the marketplace. So if you go to gsuite.google.com/marketplace, you will see a lot of those applications that cover some of these ERP solutions and how they integrate with G Suite. But I definitely feel like it's something that we can work on and continue to grow in our ecosystem.
Yeah, and just on the ProsperWorks side, one of the decisions we made early on is we understood that with the CRM, not only is it a system for your sales team or your other teams to organize your contacts, track your sales process, but also it's going to need to integrate with a lot of your other tools. So obviously, G Suite is definitely our most significant, tool set that people will use. However, often you come across the need for integration with other tools. So in order to do that, we've made sure that we've set the system up in a way where we have an open API that people can use to integrate if they have their own custom setups they want to do. But we also have worked a lot with other third-party tools that allow for integrations and automations, and make sure that we're not closing our system off. So as far as with NetSuite specifically, it really comes down to what you're trying to achieve. But on our end, we have a big focus of making sure that we're not closing things off. So being able to achieve those integrations is something we help a lot of our customers do as well. So I know for us, it's a big focus moving forward as well. So, yeah.
Cool. So Philip's wondering, for staff members with very low tech competency, do they like using ProsperWorks?
Yes. So, this is something that is one of my favorite things about ProsperWorks is that as someone who's used CRMs in the past, there is a big hurdle to using them. A lot of times adoption, the saying is the best CRM is the one you actually use. And that was really the core of why ProsperWorks was started, which is, CRMs can be painful and hard to adopt, and a lot of times the company may decide to use one that the end users just don't have a good feeling for. So for those of you that are not highly, don't consider yourself competent in tech, which I'm sure you're selling yourself a little short, but ProsperWorks is designed as an easy-to-use system, and it's one that we find a lot of people gravitate to naturally just because of the design and really also the integration with the G Suite, which a lot of people may not view themselves as tech competent, but I guarantee you that they may already be using the G Suite because it is so well designed, so easy to use. So one of the things I'm proud about is the ability for non-tech people to pick up and use ProsperWorks, and I think a lot of that goes to the way we've designed the product and also the way we integrate with great tools such as the G Suite.
Can I just jump in there and add to that, because I'm probably like one of the best place examples for that. I'd never used a CRM before, so I was coming to it, fresh and blind. I had used Google Suite before, and I found it like idiot-proof, and I mean that in the best possible way. It is extremely easy to use, and when we're onboarding staff, it is a very short learning curve for them to be able to use it as well.
Great. Philip's also wondering, Adele, why didn't you choose Salesforce?
It just didn't integrate enough with what we were doing. Like I said, we use everything in the Google Suite, so docs, sheets, slides. Some of the staff here had experience of Salesforce before and had found it particularly clunky and time consuming, I think was the biggest thing. And I keep going back to, we were looking for something that was scalable, and this was the one that suited us best. The thing that we find really useful as well, like Alex has said there, we've been back and forth with the team and working on various different things. It's great that anything that we're looking for in terms of tweaks or, is this feature going to be added, you guys are incredibly responsive on that. I guess Salesforce is this big, it's a giant system, and it suits some companies absolutely. It just didn't suit what we needed and the direction that we're going in.
Okay, another question is, did you hire any consultants to implement ProsperWorks in your company?
No, no. That wasn't necessary at all. And like I said, it's a very, very quick onboarding for anybody new that joins the system. And we always say, look, you can't break it, so go away, play around a little bit, come back to us with some questions, and invariably there's very, very few.
Vincent's wondering, what are some project management tools that integrate with ProsperWorks?
I can handle that one. So as I mentioned before, when we were talking about the ERP solution, we have done focused on making sure that ProsperWorks is open and able to work with a lot of the tools you're already using. We have a lot of our customers actually use ProsperWorks for project management, just the way that the system's set up, you're able to have that nice drag and drop functionality which comes with a lot of those process management, project management tools. However, for those tools that a lot of people use as far as third-party tools, honestly, a lot of the G Suite tools are great because you can share documentation, use spreadsheets to update where things are. But in addition to that, popular ones would be Asana, Trello, and a couple other ones like that.
Cool. Chris is wondering, he's saying he's old school using Microsoft Office Suite and Outlook. How hard is the transition to go from that to G Suite and ProsperWorks?
Oh, I'll answer that. It's incredibly easy. Like I said, I'd never used a CRM before. My background is journalism, so I'd actually use completely different systems. I had, like I said, was familiar with Google Suite, but it's so similar to Microsoft, and it's very intuitive that the transition is incredibly easy. And I'm not just saying that, like, I've done it. We have quite a few people who come in here to the company who've never used a CRM before, who may not be terribly computer literate. They're maybe out on the road a lot, so using being online is just a small part of their role, but they have found it very, very easy. Obviously, like anything, you need to spend a little bit of time at it. It's a little bit like driving a car, I say. Like, you can get the lessons, you can go around with your instructor, but you still have to get out there on the road by yourself and use it. But you can't break it, so you'll be fine.
And that's great. I might just add to that, obviously we've built G Suite as a product for folks that they can move to, and we know that Microsoft is one of those incumbent players where a lot of folks coming from that world. So we definitely have tools to help you if you need to migrate, if you want to carry over a lot of the information that you're using in your Microsoft environment over to Google. So we have a lot of tools and resources to help you move that over. We also do have additional consulting services as provided at some of our reseller and consulting arms that can help do a lot of the heavy lifting there if there is a real large migration or big need or custom need that you have there. But overall, if it's especially just moving from Outlook, you can migrate your mail over to Google Gmail. And a lot of folks are using these products at home in their personal lives. If you use Gmail, it's a very similar experience. Really what we've added onto these products is our security and administration controls and some business features and functionality. So the experience is very similar. If you've used any of these Google products at home and your employees are familiar with that, then they won't have any problem picking it up.
Awesome. So we have time for about 2 more questions. Jordan's wondering, what's on the horizon for ProsperWorks, and what are our teams most excited for in the coming versions?
Yes, so I'm excited about a lot. I'd say I'll focus on the near term, and one of the things that we're looking towards and actually going to be releasing a few features around is continuing to allow teams to automate their processes. So even earlier when I was talking about how UrbanVolt has used Google Forms and leveraged that, it was an attempt to automate that collection of information. Also, a big part of it is going to be email. And so we're looking to help automate your email conversations you have with prospects by using email templates, triggered emails, mass email, things like that. So that's one thing on the near-term horizon we have. At least that's the thing that I'm excited about. But also continuing to increase how we work with the G Suite. So being able to move more into mobile as well. That's going to be something else on the horizon that I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. One last question from Philip. Is it easy to remove a logged email from ProsperWorks? Something that might be confidential or shouldn't be seen by other staff members?
Great question. And this is one that, one thing that's very important to a lot of people with a CRM is the ability to structure who has access, who has visibility, things like that. So we have built out a visibility and permissions functionality where you can not only choose what emails people can view, but also dictate which teams can view certain records, reports, things like that. And so it really allows you to control the hierarchy of who has the access and responsibility. If it comes down to an individual email, it can be removed, but also you can just if it's an email that needs to be seen by multiple people but not all people, you can restrict visibility based off different roles. So, transparency and visibility is something that Adele talked about before. So you want to be able to use or leverage that transparency for the right people. So with our visibility and permissions, we have it so you can set and choose who's going to view what, which allows you to feel confident about how information is being shared in the system.
Great. Well, we're about 6 minutes over, but I think it was definitely worth our time. If you guys have any other questions, please email them to info@ProsperWorks, and we will either answer them ourselves or hand it off to UrbanVolt and G Suite. But yeah, I'd like to thank Justin and Adele for joining us, and Alex, of course. It's been great. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.